Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and obviously we're in an event. So this is another part of the front of our shop, and I thought we'd take you on a little tourist expedition today. So this is a specific type of tourism which still exists today. It's religious tourism, pilgrimages. You'll hear in the news about people going to Mecca or to Rome or to other religious sites around the world, depending on what their religion is, to visit a holy site. And this was a very, very popular pastime in the Middle Ages. People took it very seriously, and they wanted souvenirs. So what they got when they went to these sites was souvenirs, and they're called pilgrim's badges. And you could tell by the badge where they went. So for instance, this is an actual piece from my mini museum over here of a shell mount. And the shell, the scallop shell like that, is a symbol of Santiago de Compostela, which is St. James the Elder pilgrimage site in Spain. And the El Camino, which is what they call the walkway that goes to Santiago de Compostela, is still in heavy usage today. And it is still possible to walk the entire pilgrimage route. And you would get something like this, and you'll see portraits of people who were important enough to afford a portrait, or sketches of other people who were like pilgrims and things like that some important artist did. And they'll have one of these on their hat, or on the strap of a bag, or on a belt, or things like that. And they come in different sizes. The fanciest ones that I've seen from Santiago de Compostela are actually made out of jet, which is a black stone. There we go. This is jet. It's black stone here. And it's actually a type of coal, but it was used extensively for jewelry, and it still is used for jewelry. Obviously, I'm still getting the beads. And they would carve these scallop shells out of the jet. So I have currently got, let's see, 4 different varieties. I have 2 that are Santiago de Compostela. I've got the big one and the little one. And sometimes smaller, less important sites would sort of co-opt and make variations. So it's possible that this was like one from Santiago de Compostela, and this might have been a subsidiary site of some sort. Sometimes they're able to figure that sort of stuff out, sometimes they're not. I make them in both pewter and in bronze. I'm not making the tiny ones in bronze right now, but I make the bigger ones in bronze. And I also have Hubert's horn, which is a hunting horn. And I have St. Catherine's wheel. She was a martyr, martyred for her beliefs, and they have the wheel for her. My intention is to start adding some more, because some of the other people who used to sell these kind of things have retired. So it's on my list of things to do. I have a few specific ones in mind, so you'll just have to stay tuned and see what I wind up doing. But these are the kind of things that people bought as souvenirs at locations. They could be anything from the simplest piece of pewter or lead, because a lot of these were actually made out of lead. Sometimes they were made out of tin, up to the fanciest, the loveliest ones I've seen come from a couple of sites in Germany that are actually gold with enamel work. So they had fancier versions for people who had fancier pocketbooks, basically. But this was a major source of income for the monasteries and churches that ran these pilgrimage sites. And there was some, as I recall, rather sarcastic commentary about the amount of piety versus the amount of money involved in some of the pilgrimage sites in the old days. Just like any tourist site, there's always some abuses. You could buy, if you were to Jerusalem, for instance, you could buy little teeny they look like a little water jug, and they would actually have holy water in them. Sometimes they'll have holy oil in them. You can buy dirt that is supposed to be from the Mount of Olives, or, you know, all kinds of things like that. So yeah, the marketing and sales was a big thing even back then, but people took this seriously, collected a lot of the stuff very seriously, and it's wonderful because we do actually have records of where a lot of these things came from, and we can tell that people either brought these back, like sometimes if they brought back what they call an ampule, which is actually a hollow piece that would have had water or oil in it. When it was empty, they would still nail it to the building as kind of like a good luck thing. They're like, there's, in case there's any more holy good luck in here, we're going to nail it to the building and keep it. So you find these things, and it gives you a sense of how pious or desperate, or call it what you will, people were in an environment where life could be kind of mean and short sometimes. It's just interesting to see where people went. Sometimes you find huge collections in specific areas where it's obvious that people, you know, you can teach to travel. You know, we tend to think of some time frames as people not traveling much, but they actually traveled quite a lot. So it's interesting considering the fact that most people would have walked, or at most had, if you were high end, you might have had a horse or a donkey or something. So to think about going a few hundred miles to go to some place where you're hoping for healing, or you're hoping for good luck, or you're trying to make up for sins, or whatever you're doing, it's quite a complex process, and there have been a lot of studies on it. I have just sort of barely touched the surface on that, but I find it fascinating. So you'll just have to come back and see what I add this year. So be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because obviously there's lots happening around here. So until next time, bye. Oh, and keep brainstorming, because obviously we do.